The trading post floated in the darkness between human and Velcran space like a small city made of metal and glass. Inside, thousands of beings from dozens of worlds bought, sold, and traded everything from food to starship parts. G1 walked through the crowded corridors with her medical bag slung over her shoulder. Trying not to bump into the various aliens moving past her, she was young for a medical officer. Only 26, with short black hair and kind eyes that seemed to notice everything. Her uniform was neat and clean, marked with the symbol of Earth's diplomatic medical corps. She had volunteered for this mission, excited to help set up medical exchange programs with the Velcran Empire. Her best friend Sunhee walked beside her, checking a datapad. The meeting room is just ahead. Remember, the Velcrans are very proud. Let Captain Daehyun do most of the talking. G1 nodded. She had heard all the warnings about Velcran pride. The tall, four-armed aliens considered themselves the strongest warrior race in the galaxy. They looked down on humans as soft and weak, barely worth noticing. The meeting room was large and cold. Commander Thex stood at the far end with 3 of his soldiers. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with dark purple skin and 4 muscular arms crossed over his chest. His eyes were black and hard as stone. Captain Daehyun entered first. He was a quiet man in his 50s, with gray hair and steady hands. He had fought in the first contact wars 20 years ago, back when humans first met hostile alien species. He nodded politely to Thex. "Commander, thank you for meeting with us." Thex made a sound like grinding rocks. It might have been a laugh. "Your Earth government begs for medical knowledge, typical of weak species. You cannot develop it yourselves." G1 felt Sunhee tense beside her, but Daehyun's expression never changed. "We propose an exchange of knowledge, not a request. Human medical techniques have proven effective across multiple species." "Human medicine?" Thex leaned forward. "You are fragile creatures who break easily. What could you possibly teach us?" Daehyun was about to respond when Ji-won stepped forward. Her brother Hyun Woo, who stood by the door as security, made a small sound of warning, but she ignored it. "Commander Thex," she said respectfully, "I understand your doubt, but I've worked on 3 different alien species, including some Velcran civilians on the border colonies. Human adaptability allows us to find solutions that species-specific medicine might miss." Thex's black eyes fixed on her like a predator spotting prey. "You dare speak to me directly, female?" "I'm a medical officer, sir. I only wanted to explain." "I know what you wanted," Thex interrupted. His voice grew louder. "You wanted to insult Velcran medical superiority, to suggest we need help from primitive creatures who only left their planet 200 years ago." Daehyun moved between them. "Commander, Officer G1 meant no disrespect." But Thex wasn't listening anymore. Something in G1's polite explanation had triggered his rage. Perhaps it was pride. Perhaps he had already decided to make an example of the humans. Perhaps he was simply the kind of being who enjoyed hurting others weaker than himself. "There was a pirate attack last week," G1 said, trying to calm the situation. "I heard some Velcran civilians were injured. If your medical staff needs any assistance, that was the wrong thing to say." X's forearms spread wide in fury. "You think our doctors are inadequate? You think your soft, weak hands could do better?" He turned to his soldiers. "Take her. This human needs to learn respect." Everything happened very fast. Hyun Woo moved toward his sister, but 2 Velcran soldiers blocked him, their weapons raised. Daehyun shouted something, but another soldier grabbed G1 by the arm. She tried to pull away, and that's when the soldier twisted her arm hard. The snap of breaking bone was loud in the quiet room. Gu-won screamed. The pain shot through her arm like fire. She fell to her knees, clutching the broken limb to her chest. Sun He ran toward her, but a Velcrin soldier pushed her back roughly. "Stop this." Day Hyan's voice was hard as iron. "She is a diplomatic officer under neutral station law. This is an act of war." Vex laughed. "War? With you? Your species is barely worth noticing. This one insulted us. She will learn." He nodded to his soldiers. "Put her in holding. Let her think about Velcrin superiority." Hyan Wu lunged forward, but 2 more Velcrin soldiers appeared. There were too many. He was forced back, his face twisted with rage and helplessness as he watched them drag his sister away. G1 tried not to scream as they pulled her down a corridor. Her broken arm hung uselessly. Blood ran down her face from where her head had hit the floor. They threw her into a small holding cell and sealed the door. She lay on the cold floor, trying to breathe through the pain. Her medical training took over automatically. The arm was definitely broken, probably in 2 places. She might have a concussion. But she was alive, and she focused on that dot outside. She could hear Day Hyan's voice, calm but carrying clearly through the station. "This incident will be reported immediately to Earth Fleet Command and the Galactic Council. I strongly suggest you reconsider your actions, Commander." Vex's response was mocking. "Report whatever you wish, human. By the time your slow ships arrive, I will be gone, and you will have learned your place." Back in the meeting room, Day Hyan pulled out his communication device. His hands were steady, but something in his eyes had changed. Something cold and ancient. Hang Wu stood beside him, shaking with rage. "Captain," Hyan Wu said quietly. "My sister." "I know," Day Hyan said. He pressed several buttons on his device, opening priority channels. "I know exactly what just happened, and so will everyone else." Sun He wiped tears from her face. "What do we do?" Day Hyan looked at the time. It was 14:23 station time. He began speaking into his communicator, his voice calm and clear. "This is Captain Day Hyan of the diplomatic vessel, Horizon's Edge. Medical Officer G1 has been assaulted and detained by Velcrin military forces, requesting immediate support and extraction." He paused, then added one more thing. "Clock starts now. They have until we arrive." The young helmsman Junho calculated quickly. "Sir, at maximum speed, we can be here in 37 minutes. Day Hyan nodded once. "Then that's how long they have." He made his second call to Earth Fleet Command. Then his third call to someone else, someone whose name made Sun He's eyes go wide. And with each call, Day Hyan's voice remained calm, but his message was clear. They had touched one of his crew. They had hurt someone under his protection. And humanity was about to remind the galaxy why peaceful did not mean harmless dot in her cell. G1 heard none of this. She only knew that her arm was broken, her head hurt, and somewhere out there, her captain and her brother were planning something. She hoped they would be careful. She hoped they wouldn't do anything that would start a war. She had no idea that in 37 minutes, the entire galaxy would learn what happened when you hurt a human who chose to heal instead of harm. At the bridge of the Horizon's Edge was silent except for the soft beeping of instruments. Captain Day Hyan sat in his chair, his face calm as stone, but everyone who worked with him knew that look. It was the same expression he wore during the war, right before he did something that made enemy ships flee and terror got Hyan Wu, paced near the weapons station. His sister was hurt, maybe dying, and they were still 15 minutes away. Every second felt like an hour. His hands kept forming fists and relaxing, over and over. "Sir?" said Minzio from the weapons station. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. "Fleet Command is responding. Admiral Taeyang himself is answering your call." Day Hyan nodded. He had expected that. Admiral Taeyang was a legend, the man who had ended the first contact wars, not with violence, but with such overwhelming force that every hostile species surrendered within hours. He was also known for one thing above all else. He protected his people with absolute certainty. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He was old now, in his 70s, with white hair and scars across his face. But his eyes were sharp as knives. "Day Hyan, report." "They touched one of mine," Day Hyan said simply. The Admiral's expression didn't change. But something flickered in his eyes. Understanding. Anger. Purpose. "Medical officer?" "Yes, sir. G1. She was trying to help them." A long pause. Then, "How much time do they have?" 37 minutes until we arrive. Now closer to 22. Make it count. The Admiral leaned back. "I'm dispatching support. They'll arrive with you." "And they, Hyan?" The whole galaxy is about to remember something they forgot. The connection ended. Hyan Wu stopped pacing. "What does that mean?" Day Hyan pulled up files on his screen. Medical records. Awards. Photographs. "It means we remind everyone exactly who they hurt." Min CO. Open every communication channel to the trading post. "I want this on every screen, every speaker, every device in that station." "Sir?" "Broadcast G1's records. Her full service history. Every life she saved, every award she won, every time she volunteered for dangerous missions. I want every being on that station to know exactly who is in that cell." Min CO began the transmission. Images of G1 flooded every screen in the trading post. A young woman receiving a medal for saving 300 Velcran children during a plague outbreak. G1 working 48 hours straight during a mining accident. Pulling survivors from collapsed tunnels. G1 teaching alien medical students on border worlds. Sharing human techniques freely. On the trading post, other species began to notice. A Zenthari merchant watching the broadcasts turned to his partner. "The humans are showing who she is. They're making sure everyone knows." His partner, who had dealt with humans before, started packing their goods quickly. "We need to leave, now." "Why?" "It's just one human. That's the problem. She's not just any human. She's a healer. And they hurt her." The Zenthari moved faster. Humans are protective of their warriors, but they're absolutely insane about their healers. "We need to be gone before the fleet arrives." Other species recognized the signs too. Ships began leaving the docking bays in a hurry. Aliens who had survived human contact during the wars knew what was coming. The newer species, the ones who thought humans were weak, stayed and watched with curiosity or contempt. Commander Vex watched the broadcasts from the command center and laughed. "Look at this. The humans think we care about their little doctor. Let them broadcast. It changes nothing." His second officer, a younger Velcran named Ven, looked nervous. "Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. The other species are evacuating. Then they are cowards. We are Velcran. We fear nothing, especially not humans." But Ven noticed something Vex did not. With each image of G1 helping aliens, saving lives, teaching others, the station grew quieter. Species that normally competed and argued with each other all stopped to watch. And in their faces was the same expression, respect mixed with growing horror. A neutral Corvan, the station master, arrived at the command center. Corvans never took sides in any conflict. They ran trading posts precisely because they stayed neutral, no matter what. But this Corvan looked directly at Vex and said, "Release the human, now." Vex's 4 arms crossed. "You have no authority to. I have every authority. This is my station, and I'm evacuating all non-military personnel immediately. You have 18 minutes before a human warship arrives." I suggest you use that time wisely. One ship? We have 3 Velcrin cruisers in orbit. The Corvan's expression was pitying. Commander, with respect, you don't understand what you've done. That woman you hurt? She saved lives on 7 different worlds. She's never carried a weapon in her entire career. She chose to heal instead of fight. And humans? The Corvan moved toward the door. Humans are most dangerous when you hurt someone they've decided to protect. And they've decided to protect everyone. Vex waved him away dismissively. But even he noticed his soldiers were quiet, watching the broadcasts with uneasy faces. Back on the horizon's edge, Junho called out from the helm. Sir, we're getting a signal. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light speed ahead of us. Identify them. Junho's voice shook slightly. 7 ships, sir. All Earth fleet. Flagship is... It's Admiral Taeyang's ship, the Resolute. Haiyan Wu stared at the screen. 7 warships. For 1 medical officer. For his sister. His anger mixed with something else. Pride, maybe. Or fear of what was about to happen. Dae Haiyan opened a channel to the Admiral's ship. Sir, we weren't expecting. You called for support, the Admiral said. You're getting it. Has she been returned? No, sir. Then we proceed as planned. Captain Dae Haiyan, you'll lead the boarding party. Commander Haiyan Wu, you're with him. Everyone else, battle stations. If they don't return her in... He checked the time. 11 minutes, there won't be a station left to negotiate with. On the trading post, alarms began blaring. The station's sensors detected the human fleet. 8 ships total now, all military, all powerful. The automated defense systems tried to activate, but nothing happened. Every screen in the command center went dark, then displayed a simple message in every known language. Return her unharmed, or there is no station. Vex stared at the message. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. This wasn't how weak species behaved. This wasn't the response of creatures who could be bullied and dismissed. Ven spoke quietly. Commander, our communication with the Velcrin fleet has been cut. Our weapons are offline. Even life support is showing warnings. They've taken control of everything without firing a shot. Impossible. Our systems are... Theirs are better, Ven said flatly. Much better. Commander, we need to return the human. Now, before the lights went out. Emergency systems engaged after a moment, casting everything in red light. And through the windows, they could see the 8 human ships, their weapons powered but not firing, simply waiting. In her cell, Ji-1 heard the alarms and saw the lights change. She pulled herself to sitting, cradling her broken arm. Something was happening. Something big. The cell door opened, not by Velcrin command, but remotely from one of the human ships. She heard running footsteps, and then her brother was there, dropping to his knees beside her. Ji-1, little sister, I'm here. She managed a weak smile. You brought friends. The captain made some calls. Haiyan Wu carefully examined her arm. We need to get you to the ship. Behind him, Dae Haiyan entered. He looked at Ji-1, at her broken arm and bleeding face, and his expression grew even colder. Can you walk? I think so. Good. Let's go home. He tapped his communicator. Admiral, we have her. She's injured but stable. The Admiral's response was calm. Bring her back. Then we'll discuss consequences with Commander Vex. As they helped Ji-1 toward the docking bay, she saw Velcrin soldiers standing against walls, their weapons on the ground, their faces showing something she had never seen from them before. Fear. The medical bay of the horizons. Edge smelled like antiseptic and clean metal. Ji-1 lay on the examination table while Sun He carefully set her broken arm. The pain medicine helped, but she still felt every movement as the bones were aligned and wrapped in a regenerative cast. "You're lucky," Sun-Hee said, though her voice was tight with anger. "Another centimeter, and the break would have damaged nerves permanently. They just grabbed you and twisted without care." Ji-1 closed her eyes. "I shouldn't have spoken out of turn. I knew they were proud. Don't." Sun-Hee's hands stopped moving. "Don't you dare blame yourself. You are trying to help. That's what you always do. This is on them, not you." Through the door, they could hear activity on the bridge. Voices speaking in quick, professional tones. The sound of ships moving into position. G1 wanted to tell them to stand down, that it wasn't worth starting an incident over one person's injury. But she was tired, and her head hurt, and Sun-Hee was giving her another dose of medicine. On the bridge, Admiral Tae-Young's face filled the main screen. Behind him, crew members moved with practiced efficiency. The Admiral was speaking to someone off-screen, then turned his attention back to Dae-Hyun. "Status of your medical officer?" "Broken arm, possible concussion, various bruises and cuts." "She recover fully. Good." The Admiral's expression didn't soften. "Now bring me Commander Dex." Dae-Hyun nodded to Hyun-Woo, who left with the security team. The Admiral continued, "Captain, I want you to understand something. What we do in the next hour will echo across the galaxy for the next decade. We must be precise. We must be just. And we must be absolutely clear about who humanity is." "Yes, sir." "I understand. I don't think you do." "Not yet." The Admiral leaned forward. "We could destroy this station. We could kill everyone involved. We have the firepower and the justification. But that's not who we are. That's not who we've chosen to be. We're going to show them something more frightening than rage." "Sir?" "We're going to show them mercy. And they're going to understand that our mercy is a choice, not a weakness. That's the lesson the galaxy forgot." Minutes later, Hyun-Woo returned with Commander Dex. The huge Velcrin was surrounded by human soldiers, looking smaller than before. His forearms were bound, and his black eyes darted from face to face. He had expected execution, torture, the brutal revenge his own species would have taken. Instead, he was brought to a simple holding room with chairs and a table. Admiral Tae-Young entered through a video call displayed on a wall screen. He studied Dex for a long moment, then said, "Do you know what you've done, Commander?" Dex's voice was defiant, but uncertain. "I disciplined an inferior being who insulted Velcrin superiority." "No, you assaulted a diplomatic medical officer operating under neutral station law. You broke treaties that have kept peace for 20 years. You attacked someone who has saved more lives than you've seen in your entire military career." The Admiral pulled up a file. Medical Officer G1. Age 26. Graduated top of her class. Volunteered for border colony service. During the Sigma colony plague, she worked for 48 hours without rest, while Velcron doctors had given up. She saved 300 children. Velcrin children, Commander. Your species' children. Dex said nothing. His eyes were fixed on the screen, showing G1's records. She's been awarded honors by 7 different species for her humanitarian work. She's taught alien medical students for free. She's responded to distress calls in hostile territory because someone needed help. The Admiral's voice grew colder. And you broke her arm because she offered to help your people. Because your pride was more important than her compassion. I didn't know. You didn't care to know. That's the problem. The Admiral switched to another screen, showing the 8 human warships surrounding. G. The station. Look at this fleet, Commander. We brought this force not because we're conquerors, or because we want to prove our strength. We brought it because one person who dedicated her life to healing others was hurt. Do you understand what that means? Dex remained silent. It means that humanity protects its healers above all others. We celebrate our warriors, yes. We honor our leaders. But we protect those who choose compassion over violence with everything we have. Because they represent what we believe in, what we've chosen to be. The Admiral stood. You will stand trial under galactic law for assault on a diplomatic officer. Your government has already disavowed you to avoid war with Earth. You'll spend the next 20 years in prison, thinking about the woman you hurt and why that was the worst mistake you ever made. Guards came to take Thex away. As they led him out, he passed a window showing the trading post's main corridor. Every screen still displayed images of G1 helping others, saving lives, teaching, healing. Species from across the galaxy were watching, and in their faces was something Thex had never inspired, respect and sorrow for someone who had been hurt simply for being kind. In the medical bay, Gui-1 woke from a light sleep. Her arm throbbed, but the pain was manageable now. Dae-Hyan stood by her bed, his expression softer than she'd seen before. "Captain," she said quietly, "I heard ships arriving. Please tell me we didn't start a war over this." "No war. Just a reminder." "Of what?" "That touching one of ours has consequences. Especially when that person is someone like you." G1 shook her head carefully. "I'm not special. I'm just a medical officer." "That's where you're wrong." Dae-Hyan pulled up a chair and sat. "You're a medical officer who chose to serve on border colonies when you could have had a safe position on Earth. You're someone who saves lives without asking what species they are or which side they're on. You represent the best of humanity, G1. And when Thex hurt you, he didn't just attack one person. He attacked everything we've built, everything we've tried to be." Sun He entered with warm tea. "The station master wants to speak with you, Captain. He's apologizing on behalf of everyone. Several species are sending their own apologies directly to G1. Dae-Hyan nodded and stood. "Rest. We'll be heading home soon." After he left, Sun He sat on the edge of the bed. "You know, half the galaxy is talking about you now. You're famous. I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job. I know. That's what makes this matter so much." Sun He smiled sadly. "The galaxy is full of warriors and conquerors. But healers? People who help others without wanting anything back? You're rare. And now everyone knows it." Through the window, G1 could see the Admiral's flagship. On its hull was painted Earth's symbol, a blue and green planet wrapped in white clouds, beautiful and peaceful. But surrounding it were the marks of every battle it had won, every war it had ended. The ship was a perfect representation of humanity, peaceful by choice, dangerous when necessary, protective always. A message came through on G1's personal device. It was from a Velcrin she didn't recognize at first, then remembered. Ha-Jun, one of the children she'd saved during the plague. He was older now, almost an adult. The message was simple. "Thank you for saving my life. I'm sorry my people hurt you. We're not all like Commander Thex. Some of us remember." G1 read it twice, then closed her eyes. This was why she became a doctor. Not for thanks or recognition, but for moments like this. For knowing that somewhere in the galaxy, a young Velcrin who should have died was alive, was growing up, was learning that kindness existed even between different species. Hyan Wu entered the medical bay and sat beside his sister. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Embarrassed about all the fuss." "Don't be. You earned every bit of it." He took her hand carefully, avoiding the injured arm. "I wanted to kill them, you know, when they hurt you. I've never felt rage like that." "I know. I could see it in your face. But the captain wouldn't let me. The Admiral wouldn't let me. They said revenge wasn't the answer. That we needed to show the galaxy who we really are. Hien Wu smiled slightly. They were right. Dex expected us to be monsters. Instead, we followed the law, saved you, and made sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. That's more powerful than any weapon. I'm just glad no one died. That's because you're you. Hien Wu stood. Get some rest. We'll be home in a few days. Alone again, G1 looked out at the stars and the ships protecting her. She thought about Dex, about his pride and anger. She hoped that maybe, somewhere in a prison cell, he might think about what he'd done and understand. She hoped he might change, but even if he didn't, the galaxy had learned something important. They had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't weapons or ships or technology. It was the choice to protect those who healed instead of harmed. And that was a strength no one could defeat. The Galactic Council Chamber was built to hold representatives from 300 species. Today it was full, every seat occupied, every screen showing the faces of leaders from across known space. They had gathered for an emergency session, called within hours of the incident at the trading post. Ambassador Su Jin stood at the human delegation's platform. She was a tall woman in her 40s, with gray streaking her black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had negotiated treaties for 20 years, had survived assassination attempts, and had never once raised her voice in anger. Today she was calm as she addressed the council. We are here because Commander Dex of the Velcrin military assaulted a human diplomatic medical officer. Some of you believe humanity overreacted by sending 8 warships. Some believe we showed restraint by not destroying the station. Both perspectives misunderstand what happened. She pulled up an image of G1, the same one that had been broadcast across the trading post. A young woman in a medical uniform, smiling as she held a Velcrin child who would have died without her care. This is Medical Officer G1. She's 26 years old. She has saved 743 lives in her 5-year career. She's worked on border colonies, disaster zones, and plague ships. She's never carried a weapon. She's never refused to help anyone, regardless of species or politics. Su Jin paused, and Commander Dex broke her arm because she offered medical assistance. A Velcrin representative stood. Ambassador, the Velcrin High Command has already disavowed Dex's actions. We've offered reparations and a formal apology. What more do you want? Understanding, Su Jin said simply. You need to understand what you touched. Not just G1 specifically, but what she represents. Humans have a saying, touch not the cat without a glove. It means there are some beings you don't attack, some lines you don't cross. Healers are that line for us. A Zenthari counselor spoke up, his voice thoughtful. Ambassador, your species confuses us. You have powerful weapons, but rarely use them. You have conquered no territory despite having the ability. You help species that were once your enemies. We don't understand your motivations. Su Jin smiled slightly. That's because you think like conquerors. You think in terms of territory and dominance. Humans think differently. We learned something in our own history, learned it the hard way through countless wars and suffering. We learned that survival doesn't mean being the strongest. It means being the most adaptable, being willing to help others because someday we might need help too. She pulled up more images. Human medical ships responding to distress calls in hostile territory. Human rescue teams saving aliens whose own governments had abandoned them. Human teachers sharing knowledge freely. Human engineers building water systems on worlds that had nothing to trade. In the last 20 years, humans have saved over 2 million alien lives. Not human lives. Alien lives. Species that attacked us during the first contact wars. Species that called us weak and inferior. We saved them anyway, because that's who we've chosen to be. Young me, the journalist who had been covering the incident, had her article published across every major news network in the galaxy. She wrote about humanity's unique position among spacefaring species. Most civilizations expanded through conquest or economic dominance. Humans expanded by making themselves useful, by being the species that showed up when disaster struck. That responded to distress calls, regardless of politics. Her article included interviews with aliens saved by humans. A Corvan engineer, whose ship had been destroyed by pirates, rescued by a human patrol that was under no obligation to help. A Velcron colony that would have starved if human supply ships hadn't delivered food for free. A Zenthari child who received a human-made heart when her own species. Medicine couldn't help. The common thread in every story was that humans helped without expecting anything in return. They didn't demand treaties or trade agreements. They just showed up, fixed the problem, and left. It made them different from every other species in the galaxy. Back at the council, a representative from the Darax Collective spoke. "This is all very moving, Ambassador. But it doesn't explain why 8 warships were necessary. One ship could have retrieved your officer." "One ship could have," Sujin agreed. "But one ship sends the wrong message. One ship says we'll come get our people when they're hurt. 8 ships say we'll come get our people, and we'll make absolutely certain everyone understands what happens when you touch them. There's a difference between rescue and consequence." She looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. "Let me be very clear about something. We are accused of overreacting, of being too protective, too quick to respond with force. So let me explain the situation properly. If Vex had attacked one of our soldiers, we would have mourned and followed proper diplomatic channels. If he'd attacked one of our captains, we would have demanded his arrest and trial. But he didn't attack a warrior or a leader. He attacked a healer, someone who chose compassion over violence, someone who represents our highest values." The chamber was silent now, every representative listening. In attacking G1, Vex didn't just hurt one person. He attacked the very principle we hold most sacred, that helping others is strength, not weakness. That healing is more important than hurting. That compassion is a choice we make every day, and it's the hardest choice there is. Sujin's voice grew stronger. "You call us soft because we help you. You call us weak because we choose diplomacy over war. But understand this. We are peaceful because we choose to be, not because we must be. And there is a universe of difference between those two things." A younger representative from a species that had only recently joined the galactic community raised a tentacle nervously. "Ambassador, does this mean humans will respond with warships every time one of your people is hurt?" "No, it means we'll respond proportionally to the situation. A traffic accident gets an investigation. A diplomatic incident gets a formal complaint. But attacking a medical officer who spent her life saving aliens? That gets a fleet. Because we need you to understand, we have limits. We have lines. And if you cross them, you'll discover that the peaceful species you dismissed is the most dangerous thing in this galaxy." The session ended without a vote. There was nothing to vote on. Vex would stand trial under galactic law. The Velcron government had already paid reparations. But the real change wasn't in laws or payments. It was in how every species looked at humans afterward. In the halls outside the chamber, representatives gathered in small groups, talking quietly. A Corvan counselor spoke to his Zenthari leader. "I've dealt with humans for 30 years. I always knew they were powerful. I didn't realize they were this committed to protecting their own." The Zenthari nodded. "It's not just protecting their own. It's protecting the idea of helping others. That's what makes them dangerous. You can negotiate with conquerors. You can fight warriors. But how do you deal with the species that will cross the galaxy to defend the principle of compassion?" "You don't hurt their healers," the Corvan said simply. That's the lesson. You don't hurt the people who help others. Back on Earth, G1 watched the council session from her apartment. Her arm was healing well, the regenerative cast doing its work. She felt uncomfortable seeing herself on screens across the galaxy, hearing ambassadors talk about her like she was some kind of symbol. Sun He sat beside her, eating noodles from a delivery container. You're famous now. Every medical school in the galaxy wants you to give lectures. I just want to go back to work. I know. But you can't. Not yet anyway. The doctor said you need at least 2 more weeks. One sighed and looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. Somewhere out there, across billions of miles of space, the galaxy was talking about her. About humans. About what happened when you hurt someone who chose to heal Dot. She thought about Thex, sitting in a cell awaiting trial. She wondered if he understood yet, if he realized that his moment of pride and cruelty had changed how an entire galaxy viewed his species and hers. Her communicator buzzed. Another message from someone she'd helped. This time, a Corvan whose daughter she'd saved from a rare disease. The message was short. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for showing us what kindness looks like. G1 closed her eyes. This was why the response had been so strong. It wasn't about her specifically. It was about defending the idea that helping others mattered. That compassion was worth protecting with warships and treaties, and the full force of human determination. Haiyan Wu called from Earth Fleet headquarters. Little sister, you okay? I'm fine. Just tired of being famous. Get used to it. The Admiral says every species in the galaxy is now watching how we treat our medical personnel. You've become a symbol, whether you want to be or not. I never asked for this. No, you didn't. You just did your job, helped people who needed it, and tried to make the galaxy a little better. That's what makes you perfect for this role. Haiyan Wu paused. I'm proud of you. Mom and Dad would be too. After the call ended, G1 sat quietly for a long time. The galaxy had changed. Not in big ways maybe, but in small ones. Species that had viewed humans as weak now understood differently. Medical personnel across space were being treated with more respect. And somewhere out there, young aliens were learning that helping others was something worth celebrating, worth protecting, worth building a civilization around Dot. It had cost her a broken arm and 2 weeks of unwanted fame. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth it. 3 months after the incident, G1 returned to active duty. The regenerative cast had come off 2 weeks earlier, and physical therapy had restored full movement to her arm. She stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge in her clean uniform, ready to resume her normal work. But nothing felt normal anymore. Captain Daehan welcomed her back with a simple nod. Good to have you back, officer. We have a supply run to Sector 7, and medical checks on the mining colony. Thank you, sir. It's good to be back. But it wasn't the same. She noticed it immediately. When they docked at the first trading post, aliens moved out of her way. Not rudely, but with a kind of reverence that made her uncomfortable. A Corvan merchant bowed to her. A Xanthari trader offered her free supplies. Even species she'd never met seemed to know who she was. Sun He walked beside her, carrying medical supplies. You're going to have to get used to this. You're the most famous human in the galaxy right now. I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job. I know. But you're a symbol now. The healer who the whole human fleet came to rescue. Every species knows your name. At the mining colony, G1 conducted standard health checks on the workers. They were mostly Velkrins, which made her nervous at first. But these Velkrins were different from Thex. They were quiet, respectful, even apologetic. One older Velkrin miner approached her after his examination. His forearms were marked with the scars of decades of hard labor. Officer G1, may I speak? Of course, I want to say sorry for what Thex did, for how my people have treated yours. He looked down at his hands. We always thought we were superior, stronger, better. But strength isn't just about muscles or weapons. You taught us that. G1 didn't know what to say. She settled on, I just did what any doctor would do. No, you did what you believe is right. Even when we insulted you, even when we called you weak, you still offered to help. He pulled out a small data chip. This is from the Velcrin colonies. Thousands of signatures. People you've helped, children you've saved, families you've given hope to. We wanted you to know that Thex doesn't represent all of us. She took the chip carefully. Thank you. That means a lot. After he left, Sun He asked, You okay? I don't know. This is all so strange. I got hurt, and suddenly the entire galaxy changed. Not suddenly. You've been changing it for years with every life you saved. The incident just made everyone pay attention. Back on Earth, Haiyan Wu visited their parents' graves. He stood in the quiet cemetery, looking at the stones that marked where his mother and father rested. They had died in a transport accident 5 years ago, never knowing what their children would become. G1's okay, he said quietly to the stones. She got hurt, but she's tough. Tougher than me in a lot of ways. She went right back to work, still helping people, still being exactly who you raised her to be. He paused. I wanted to kill the ones who hurt her. I was ready to start a war. But the captain stopped me. The admirals stopped me. They showed me that revenge isn't the answer. That being better than our enemies is the answer. A voice behind him said, Your parents would be proud. Haiyan Wu turned to see Admiral Taeyang standing a respectful distance away. The old admiral looked at the graves, then at Haiyan Wu. Both of you. Your sister for being who she is, and you for learning to control your rage. That's what makes humans strong. Not that we don't feel anger, but that we choose what to do with it. Sir, may I ask something? Go ahead. Why did you bring 8 warships for one person? It seems like too much. The admiral sat on a nearby bench, his old bones creaking. I brought 8 ships because one ship sends the message that we're just rescuing our own. 8 ships sends the message that we're defending a principle. The principle that healers matter. That compassion matters. That the people who choose to help instead of hurt are worth everything we have. He looked at the sky. During the first contact wars, I did terrible things. Necessary things, maybe, but terrible. I killed thousands of beings to save millions of humans. And when it was over, I swore that humanity would be better. We would be the species that helped others, that protected the weak, that showed the galaxy there was another way besides endless war. And G1 represents that. She does. So do thousands of other humans like her. Medical officers, teachers, engineers, scientists. All of them choosing to build instead of destroy. When Nex hurt her, he attacked everything we've tried to become. I couldn't let that stand. The Admiral stood. Your sister doesn't understand her own importance. Maybe that's what makes her perfect for the role. She just wants to help people. No glory, no recognition, just the work itself. At the Galactic prison facility where Dex was held, things had changed for the former commander. He spent his days in a clean cell with access to education materials and communication devices. The prison was humane, designed to rehabilitate rather than just punish. It was run by humans, which Dex found deeply ironic. One day, a message arrived for him. It was from Ha Jun, the young Velcrin who G1 had saved during the plague. Dex remembered the incident vaguely. Humans had come to help when Velcrin doctors gave up. At the time, he'd seen it as weakness, as humans trying to make his species look bad. Ha Jun's message included a video. The young Velcron, now almost an adult, spoke directly to the camera. "Commander Vex, you don't know me, but I'm alive because of the woman you hurt. When I was 6 years old, I got sick with the colony plague. Our doctors said I would die. They said there was nothing they could do. But she didn't give up. Officer G1 worked for 2 days straight, trying treatments, adapting human medicine to Velcran biology. She saved me and 299 other children." Hachun's image showed him standing in front of a memorial wall covered with names. "This is at the Velcran colony. Every name here is someone the human medical officers saved. Thousands of us. Lives that would have ended if humans hadn't chosen to help. If they hadn't chosen to see us as worth saving, despite our pride and our insults." The video ended with Hajun looking directly at the camera. "You hurt someone who only ever tried to help us. You hurt her because your pride was more important than her compassion. I hope you spend every day of your sentence thinking about that." Vex sat in his cell after watching the video, staring at the wall. For the first time, he began to understand what he'd done. Not just hurt one human, but betrayed everyone those humans had ever helped. He'd proven their enemies right, the ones who said aliens didn't deserve human compassion. Weeks passed. G1 continued her work, slowly adjusting to her new reality. Species that had once dismissed humans now treated them with respect. Medical personnel across the galaxy reported better treatment, more cooperation, increased funding. Her broken arm had somehow changed the conversation about what mattered in galactic society. One day, a distress call came through to the horizon's edge. A remote colony was suffering from an equipment failure. Life support was failing. They needed help immediately. Dehyan checked the coordinates. "It's in Velcran territory, close to the border." Hyanu frowned. Could be a trap. After what happened with Vex, some Velcrans might want revenge. G1 stepped forward. "We should go anyway. If it's real, people are dying. If it's a trap, we deal with it. But we can't ignore a distress call." Dehyan studied her face. "You sure? After everything that happened?" "I'm sure. We help because that's who we are. We don't stop being that because someone hurt us once." Sun He pulled up the sensor data. "Captain, I'm seeing multiple ships around the colony. Not Velcran military. They're from different species. Looks like everyone's responding to the distress call." When the horizon's edge arrived at the colony, they found a strange sight. Ships from 7 different species were working together to repair the life support. Velcrans, Xanthari, Corvans, even some species that usually stayed neutral, all cooperating to save the colony. A Corvan ship hailed them. "Human vessel Horizon's Edge, we're glad you're here. We could use your medical expertise. Some colonists are suffering from oxygen deprivation." G1 suited up and transferred to the colony with her medical team. Inside, she found aliens working side by side, species that normally competed or fought, now helping each other evacuate civilians and repair critical systems. A young Velcran engineer approached her nervously. "Officer G1? I'm trained in human medical techniques. Would you like assistance?" She smiled at him. "I'd appreciate that. What's your name?" "Baknam. I studied your methods at the academy. Many of us did, after we learned what you did for us." They worked together for 6 hours, treating injured colonists, stabilizing the sick, making sure everyone was safe. When it was over, G1 stood in the colony's main hall, exhausted but satisfied. The colony's leader, an old Velcran with scars from the first contact wars, approached her. "Thank you," he said simply. "All of you. Every species that came to help. You've shown us something important today. What's that?" G1 asked. "That we're stronger together than apart. that helping each other isn't weakness, it's wisdom. He looked around at the various aliens resting after their work. You humans started this. By helping when no one asked, by saving lives without expecting payment. You showed us a different way. Back on the horizon's edge, Wee-One stood at the observation window, watching the stars. Sun-Hee joined her with 2 cups of tea. You did good today, Sun-Hee said. We all did. That's the point, isn't it? It's not about humans being special. It's about everyone choosing to help. Dae-Hyen's voice came over the comm system. All hands, we're receiving another distress call. Unknown vessel, engine failure, drifting near the asteroid field. Preparing to respond. G1 finished her tea and stood. That's us. Always responding, always helping. Doesn't it ever get exhausting? Sometimes. But then I think about Hajun, about those Velcran children, about every being I've ever helped who went on to live their life. And I remember why we do this. She headed toward the door. We do this because someone has to. And humans decided it would be us. As the ship turned toward the new distress call, G1 passed a screen showing news from across the galaxy. Medical academies were teaching human techniques. Species were cooperating on health initiatives. The galactic community was slowly changing, becoming more like what humanity had envisioned. It had cost her a broken arm and months of unwanted fame. But the galaxy was learning that strength came in many forms, that protecting those who healed was just as important as training those who fought, that compassion wasn't weakness, but the hardest choice anyone could make. 3 months ago, aliens had hurt her. 37 minutes later, humanity had shown the galaxy what happened when you touched someone they'd chosen to protect. And now, 3 months after that, the lesson had taken root. The galaxy would never be perfect. There would always be beings like Vex, driven by pride and cruelty. But there would also be beings like Hajun and Baknam, inspired to be better, to help others, to choose compassion. And somewhere in the middle of it all was G1, just a medical officer who wanted to do her job, who chose every day to heal instead of hurt, to help instead of harm, to be the kind of person the galaxy needed, even when it didn't know it yet. That was humanity's true strength. Not warships or weapons or technology, but the stubborn, persistent choice to be better, to help, to care, even when it cost them. Especially when it cost them. And the galaxy, for better or worse, would never forget it.